Hello watch collectors! The biggest news in the watch world this past week has been the 15% retail price increase that Patek has implemented in the US on September the 15th. What does this mean for the retail market and for the resale market? In this video, I'll take a look into the recent price histories and share with you some thoughts about the price increase and what it means for collectors. Overall, I think the effect of this price hike will be fairly different between the sports models and the dress models. Stay tuned to find out why. All the data in this video comes from WatchCharts, the world's leading secondary watch market research platform. Dive into the data yourself at WatchCharts.com. Last Monday, on September 15th, Patek raised their retail prices in the US by around 15% across the board. That makes Patek the first major Swiss brand to substantially raise their prices as a response to the 39% tariffs that the US has implemented on Switzerland as of early August. And it's now being widely reported that other brands like Omega, Cartier, JLC, and Blancpain are also going to follow suit and raise their prices over the next week or so. Let's be honest, we all saw this coming after negotiations have continued to fail between the US and the Swiss governments. Even back in April, when the 10% baseline tariff was implemented, brands reacted in May, June, and July with a price increase of around 5%. Patek, for example, raised their prices on May the 1st, raising prices of their gold models by 8%, and the prices of their steel and platinum models by 5%. The difference is to account, of course, for the rising price of gold. To get the bigger picture of the recent price hike, let's review Patek's recent retail price increases over the past few years. In early 2021, the brand saw that the secondary watch market was heating up and raised their prices by around 11% in February. Then a year later, by another 6%. In February 2023, even after the secondary market had begun its correction after peaking in April 2022, the brand again raised prices by around 4%. February 2024 finally saw a more sensible increase in the US of just 0.6%, as the secondary watch market continued to decline. But the brand followed up with the second price increase of the year in September by an average of 2.2%. The next price increase happened on May the 1st of this year, which saw Patek models go up in the US by an average of 7%. Outside the US, prices went up by 3% for the gold models, while steel and platinum pieces avoided the price hike. This meant that outside the US, the price went up by an average of just 2%. The difference of 5% between the US and the other countries is in response to the 10% baseline tariffs that the US government implemented back in April 2025. And of course, the latest retail price increase that happened a few days ago is more directed at the US in response to the 39% tariffs on Switzerland, which is a 29% increase from the 10% baseline that had been in effect. While retail prices stayed the same outside the US of course saw a 15% price increase pretty much across the board. Among the slightly more than 100 in-production models that we track at WatchCharts, only 4 went up by 10.04%, while all the others went up by a very precise 15.09%. To give you more context of the retail price increases, here's the Patek Philippe Market Index at WatchCharts, which measures the average secondary market price of the brand's top 30 watches. As you can see, Patek had clearly scaled back on its retail price increases after the downturn started in 2022. But this time around, the tariffs have unfortunately led to the largest one-time price increase in years, if not ever. You're probably wondering how the retail price hike will affect the secondary market. While it can take weeks, if not months, to fully digest the effects of this retail price increase, what we can look at now is how it has affected the value retention of Patek watches. As you may know, we at WatchCharts place a huge emphasis on value retention, which measures the premium or the discount that a watch trades on the secondary market for relative to its retail price. If a watch trades above its retail price, it will have a positive value retention number. If it trades below its retail price, that number will be negative. Here I have charted the value retention by collection over the past few years based on the US retail prices. 2021 to 2022 was truly a crazy time. At the peak in early 2022, the average Nautilus and the average Aquanaut both traded for more than double retail. That is absolutely insane. Meanwhile, the Calatravas and the Complications traded at a slight discount. Then, as the market declined, you see that the value retention for almost all collections progressively got worse and worse. In mid-2025, the average Patek watch still traded at a premium of around 6%, which just about offsets the sales tax depending on which state you buy the watch in. But you have the same dichotomy between the sports pieces and the dress pieces that has been there for many, many years. Nautiluses and Aquanauts were trading above 1.5x retail, while the Calatravas and the Complications traded at a 30% discount. Of course, after the September 15th increase that happened a few days ago, value retention naturally got a lot worse, It's perhaps shocking to realize that the average Patek dress watch will lose around 40% of its value when you walk out of the AD. Meanwhile, the Nautilus and the Aquanaut collections still have a 39% and 54% premium, respectively. To see these pricing and value retention evolutions in a more concrete example, let's look at the value retention history of the very popular rose gold date-only Aquanaut, reference 5167R. This watch has traded at a premium for many years. In early 2021, following the 11% retail price hike in February, the watch was trading at a 25% premium. But the rally saw this watch break double retail by the end of 2021 and even hit triple retail very briefly at the peak in March 2022. Those were truly crazy times. Value retention worsened for about 2 years after the downturn started in 2022 and has mostly stayed the same at the 50% mark since late 2023. Now, as expected, the price hike last week dented the value retention quite a bit. These arrows over here point to the substantial retail price hikes that Patek has implemented over these few years. As expected, every one of these is very noticeable on the graph due to its instant effect on value retention. Now let's look at something that's pretty much the opposite of the 5167R in material and style, the Calatrava weekly calendar, reference 5212A. Despite having Calatrava in its name, this watch actually falls under Patek's Complications collection. This watch is a personal favorite of mine, as it has handwritten style numerals and a fairly unique movement, which displays the number of the current week of the year in addition to the day and date. This watch traded at a 20% premium back in 2021. The rally saw it go up to a premium of around 40%, but since then it has been steadily declining. In mid-2023, the market price fell below retail. The latest price hike, of course, made this watch trade at a discount of 35%. This watch is now trading at just slightly above $30,000, while it retails for over $47,000. This watch has been a grail watch of mine for a few years now. But at this price, as much as I love this watch, even if I had the money, which I don't, I definitely cannot justify buying it at retail. So what's the takeaway here? I think we'll see a divergence between the sports watches and the dress watches on both the retail market and the secondary market. For models that are extremely popular and desirable, namely those models that are trading for hefty premiums on the secondary market, I don't think retail sales will suffer at all from this 15% price hike. Everyone who would have gotten the watch last month will still be running to the store if, and this is a big if, they get the call. That describes basically most models from the Aquanaut and the Nautilus collections. For less desirable models though, namely those dress watches from the Calatrava, Complications, and Grand Complications collections, it is probably a lot harder to justify buying at retail now than last year. A lot of the US buyers who might have pulled the trigger last year might no longer find it worth it to buy the watch knowing that it's going to lose around 50% of its value the moment you walk out of the doors of the AD. In fact, I don't think we're too far from the days when dress pieces might actually be readily available for walk-in customers. As for the secondary market, it is perhaps not a bold claim to say that the higher retail prices will likely lead to higher market prices as well, but more specifically, because of the market dynamics I have just described, I'm going to guess that the effect of this price hike in the US on the resale market will be felt more strongly by the less desirable models. Namely, I'm expecting the dress pieces from the Calatrava collection, the Complications collection, and the Grand Complications collection to see a lot more secondary demand and therefore appreciate in market values. This is because potential buyers are going to turn from the retail market to the secondary market. Of course, a similar dynamic might exist for those watches that trade at a premium as well. For example, a watch that traded for 25% over retail before the price increase is now trading only at a 10% premium. That's probably enough for someone who's been waiting for years to get the call to say, oh, I might as well just go to the secondary market and enjoy the watch today. But overall, I think this retail price increase will have a much stronger positive effect for the dress pieces than for the sports pieces. And that is why I'm hoping and predicting that that is enough to stop the decline that the Calatrava and the Complications and of course the Grand Complications collections have been seeing since the downturn started in 2022. What do you think of this take? If you have been waiting for a call from Patek, are you still waiting for that call? Please let us know down in the comments. Check out our website WatchCharts.com, where you can explore pricing for over 28,000 watches, explore market trends, and even monitor your collection's value over time for free. And if you're looking to buy or sell watches among fellow collectors, head over to our marketplace at marketplace.watchcharts.com. Our last video shares 15 watches that have appreciated the most over the past year. Please go check it out if you haven't. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.